Welcome to the Positive Pants Podcast. Mindset, motivation, and inspiration to help you find your positive pants. It's time to let go of negative thinking, understand why you do what you do, and stop the self-sabotage. With your host, Fran Excel.
Welcome to the show. As always, it's Fran Excel, your resident subconscious success mentor, helping you find your very own pair of positive pants so you can get out of your own way and live a life that you love. If you want to stop sabotaging your own success and let go of the stress, then you are in the right place, my friend. Make sure you download your free Stressed to Success guided meditation at bit.ly/stressed to success as my little gift to you for being here. Please do subscribe, share, review. It really, really helps people that need to hear this message find us, and I so appreciate it. In the show notes, you will also find details of how you can work with me and where you can get your mitts on my meditations, products, and printables. You can also find it through the link in my bio on Instagram, which is my second favorite place to hang out. So please do come join me over there at I'm Fran Excel. Tag me in your takeaways, slide into my DMs. I am here for it. So that is the formalities over, my love. So let's jump into the content. Oh, it's been a week. Kindness costs nothing. But when emotions are heightened, it can sometimes go straight out the window. I get it. It's been a heck of a year. And last week was a heck of a week with a lot of divisive opinions online. It's as if you can kind of feel the tension just rising and escalating. So many people have been holding in emotions for a really long time now. They are bound to come out somewhere. I spoke to so many clients and people and my best girlfriends last week who just felt heavy. I felt weighed down by what was going on, and I felt it too. There was drama, there was nastiness, there was an us versus them mentality everywhere I looked. There were ill thought out opinions, stubbornness, ego reactions left, right, and center. And unless you live under a rock or off grid or choose your media very wisely, the first thing that caused a lot of tension was on International Women's Day was the interview with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. My goodness, did that divide opinion. It led to some, shall I say, very heated debates. But really, when you kind of just strip it back, what you had was a young couple just wanting something fairly simple. For people to be kind. Not even that much. For the nastiness, assumptions, and negativity to stop. To have the opportunity to defend themselves to millions of people worldwide who do not know them. Right? Isn't that actually bonkers when you think about it? Whether you think it was a good thing or a bad thing, and whatever judgments you make about the way they went about it is, of course, completely up to you. But it was certainly a conversation starter around why some people feel the need to be unkind and why it's so easy from behind a keyboard and why it's something that we fear, a legitimate fear that people have. You know, we fear this happening in our business. And that stops people getting visible. You know, the conversations this week turned to privilege, mental health, racism, women's safety, sexual harassment, and more. Some big, heavy stuff. Yeah. Things that will have personally touched most of our lives in some way, shape, or form. There was anger, there was hate, there was upset, there were debates about right and wrong. Emotions were running high. And when that happens, most people won't take a second to just step back and try to see all sides of the coin. And in amongst all of this, regardless of whether it was Harry and Meghan, whether it was something to do with Sarah Everard or anything along these lines, women versus men, I was just seeing blaming, shaming, name calling, downright abuse in some cases, you know, intentionally trying to bring others down, calling people out with the intention of damaging reputation or businesses. And we need to do better. What's the point, really? What's another potentially more beneficial way to handle grievances, upset, triggers? Yeah? Whether it's something going on in the world or whether it's just in our business, there's standing up for what's right and there's being nasty. In my opinion, two very, very different intentions and two very different outcomes. One has the potential to question thoughts and behavior and unconscious bias and potentially make real change. No one's going to do that from a triggered ego, right? And the other is just going to create more ego and escalate the situation and emotions further. When ego is triggered, the adults leave the room, right? You're just fighting this battle against each other's ego. So we need to seek to understand each other more. We're all up against our own unconscious bias, our upbringing, what we've been taught as children, what environment we were raised in, what we modeled from our parents, what we were taught is acceptable and what isn't. And we have to acknowledge, with the billions of us in the world, that's going to be different. Yeah, there's a lot of unconscious programming driving our behavior and our protection mechanisms as well. Yeah, we need to get out of reaction mode and think a little bit more deeply. Imagine if we all just took a minute to step back before we reacted to something. Would we make a different decision over how to handle it? Do you often do that, where you've reacted and then an hour or so later you're like, oh, I really wish I hadn't done that? Or even worse, sometimes really wish you hadn't done it, but stick to it stubbornly because you kind of feel like you're deep in it now. Yeah. You see it in the online business world all the time. People tearing each other down. I call it standing on people's heads to make yourself look taller. It's not something that I kind of welcome into my world. This tendency, this being quick to lash out. And it's a big reason people sabotage themselves and putting themselves out there in the first place. That fear of nastiness being aimed at them. That fear that you can't handle it. So there is an important conversation to have on both sides of this coin, I think. To know that when it happens to you, it's usually nothing actually about you at all. It's more often than not something that has been triggered in the other person. And that is their responsibility. But also, the other side of the coin, if you've been the one to lash out or support someone else in lashing out, this is an important conversation to have. Understanding where that comes from, in the hope that you may not feel the need to take that route again. This isn't about cancel culture. This isn't about suppression. It's about acknowledging that we're all bouncing off each other's ego all the time and reacting unconsciously. But often the thing that we're really reacting to isn't the thing that's in front of us in that moment. It's often something that has happened in the past. It's a protection mechanism. So many things that are happening. But when we're hurting, it's an easy tendency to want to lash out at someone else. Yeah, it's that feeling of like, this makes me feel better for a limited amount of time. It's only ever short-lived. There can be a lot at play under the surface, protecting yourself because of past traumas, biting before someone else can bite you first, reacting from a place of hurt, seeking ways to project and vent our anger. But really, what does it get you? Does it ever really go well? Does it ever actually make you look good in that situation? Don't get me wrong, I get it. We're human. It's how we're wired. But it just creates gossip and drama. Oh my goodness, did you see this? Oh my goodness, did you see what so-and-so said? I bet it's about this person. It's no good for anyone. It's exhausting. We can do better. But especially now, with a year of lockdown, awful things happening all over the globe, people waking up to these unconscious biases that we've been living under our whole entire lives is going to bring up emotion. There's going to be multiple opinions. There's going to be anger. There's going to be triggers. But we can still be kind to each other, even if we don't agree with each other. Kindness and compassion, yeah, they don't cost anything. And it doesn't mean that if you disagree with someone that needs to go out the window. You can be both. We can be brave and have difficult conversations like adults, rather than putting out a derogatory post with negative intentions for the other person in the hope it brings them down a peg or two or hurts them in some way, or wanting to rally other people around to your cause and validate your experience that, let's be honest, may or may not actually be based in the flipping truth. Yeah? To be clear, kind doesn't always have to mean nice. It doesn't mean suppression. You can still stand up for injustice. You can be firm. You can make your opinions clear, but there are so many ways to do this before the public showdown. You You can be very clear, very firm in your stance and your boundaries. You can talk about what you stand for and what you stand against, and approach something with kindness, with the hope of helping someone change their opinion, yeah, or helping them see another side. Because you've got to remember, 95 to 99% of everything we're doing is unconscious. So many people do not understand these unconscious programs that we have. Giving them an opportunity to explain their side of the story and maybe changing your opinion. You might not achieve any of this, but at least it comes from a positive intention, right? It is nuanced. But we can reach out to the person who's upset us privately instead of publicly. We can be curious about why that thing has upset us so much. Is it about the person, or is it actually about us? What is really going on underneath it? What has been triggered? If you want to lash out, what's the intention behind that really? What's your highest positive intention in that moment? And if you want to criticize, put up a bad review, publicly call someone out, tear someone else down, why? How would it feel to be on the receiving end? How would you feel if it happened to your best friend? So just think before you victim shame. Think before you call someone a liar. Think before you judge someone for their privilege or what they wear. Think before you make assumptions. Think before you let your ego take over. And think before you write that nasty comment, and think about the other person on the end of it. Pause and breathe before you respond. It really can be that simple. Walk away from your computer for a couple of minutes, breathe, go for a walk, whatever you need to do, but just give yourself that pause. This can often be harder to do in person. I completely get that, particularly in relationships, let's be honest, where we're all bouncing off each other's triggers and triggering each other all the time. But behind a screen, we all have that pause that we can take. We need to allow, if you haven't listened to the episode around fear and what happens in that response, in that emotional response, you've got to allow the rational thinking, conscious part of your brain to come back online. So you can make a decision from that place, not one that's reacting to or from ego or assumptions or hurt or triggers. Question yourself in your reactions. You often can't take it back. And words can and do cause immense damage. Yeah. So even if it's something that you see, even if somebody else has put a grievance out and you feel the need to write on that comment and really rally around that person, really think before you do it. You never have the full picture, right? Be responsible for your choices over what you consume. We live in an echo chamber, particularly with social media, right? Yeah. When we're triggered, we need to start to notice it before we act. Notice that familiar rising up of tension. For me, it's something I feel it in my chest. It's like a heat rising. We need to notice when we are allowing ourselves to be dragged into drama, learning to respond, not react. Take responsibility and regulate your emotions first. It's so important. Understand your fight or flight response has been activated. Taking the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, the conscious part of the brain, offline. The adults have left the building. Yeah. So it's potentially not the best time to write that email. Start to question why that thing someone said online hurt us or angered us so much. Did they really mean it how we took it? Is there potentially another side to this, another option or route to go down? Let's just live a little bit deeper than that surface level. With multiple opposing opinions, who is actually in the right? Interesting question, right? So often we want to share our opinion and rally people around that agree with us. As humans, we want to feel like we belong. We want to be validated. We're social creatures. But it was a heavy week, guys. It was a heavy week to be a woman. We don't need to take that heaviness and misplace it somewhere else and make ourselves feel worse in the long run. We've got to be in this together. A huge number of people have been triggered this last year, particularly this last week, myself included. But we get to take responsibility for that. We get to look at ourselves with curiosity and compassion and try to find empathy over anger. What I mean by that is understanding that someone else is reacting to their own unconscious programming. Yeah. But let's all just pause. Yeah, take a few deep breaths before we respond and just see how it changes what you want to do and how that then changes the potential outcome. Hashtag be kind is still a thing. It really wasn't that long ago, and oh, how it's been forgotten. Hashtag be kind is still a thing, and it's free. And work out what needs to happen to get you from where you're at right now to the action-taking success you know you can be. If you want my eyes and ears on your problems, then I do work with people one-on-one and through the Proactive Pants program. You can find all the details to book in a call in the show notes, the link in my bio on Instagram, and on my website, franexcel.com. So stop waiting for if and when and choose to change things now, because you can. I am here to believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. And as always, I hope you found this helpful. And as always, I will see you next week. Bye!